Sophia, and welcome back to Coming Home to Her. Some days I already know before I looked at my phone or even got out of bed that I'm having a bleh day. Everything is literally terrible. I don't like the way that I look in the mirror. I don't like the weather. I don't like how something is placed in my apartment. And I am a full-on negative Nancy who is only complaining about the small things and literally everything around me. And the worst part is that I know what I'm doing to myself, and maybe you know exactly what I'm talking about as well. I genuinely want to be specific about this topic because I find that it's something that can be vaguely spoken about sometimes, and sometimes we're just like, oh, I'm not feeling great today. But what is actually going on, or what can you do about a day that you're feeling a bit bleh? For me personally, it's not something I would say that I can feel immediately when I wake up. It usually just takes me until after my cup of coffee where I can actually feel that maybe I am a bit irritated for no specific reason. I find that it's usually due to maybe I slept poorly or have been sleeping poorly, but most commonly when I have been stressed or if there has been a lot of pressure, let's say subconsciously in my life, where everything has just kind of pent up and I'm needing a day to kind of diffuse it all out, which is of course causing me to be pissed off to the world because maybe the things that I'm working towards are not going the way that I wish they were. And it's funny because in these days where I'm feeling a bit bleh, everything is just wrong. And it's like I put on glasses that blind me from all the good things going on in my life and just focus on all the things that irritate me and or the things that I can genuinely complain about. Maybe your bad day also looks different than mine, of course. I mean, maybe it's your inbox and not because of stress that's been building up. Maybe it's about a conversation that you had the day before that kind of triggered you or set you off and you're needing to diffuse it in one aspect or another. Or maybe it's also because you've been carrying kind of this unexplainable weight that you didn't even realize, and it's just a day where you gotta let it all go. But I'm sure that you know exactly what I'm talking about. And that's what this episode is for. One of those days where life genuinely feels like shit. So before I get into what actually helps, I did a little bit of research and I found out something that I genuinely did not know beforehand. So I thought it would be great to kick it off with some psychological information, which I think is very helpful for all of us so that we don't think we are insane. And that is, for the days that you are specifically, let's say, overwhelmed or in a low mood, it is actually your brain's stress response that kicks in. And when this happens, it reduces your ability to think clearly and to, let's say, react as well in a proper manner. So you're not being dramatic, you're not overreacting. Your brain is literally tricking you and not allowing you to be logical with your reasoning. So if you've ever asked yourself, I certainly have, why the heck can't I get it together today? Or why can't I get over this feeling? I want you to remember that you are not weak or less than anyone else. You're just human. And unfortunately, this is just how our brain works. It's biology. And to give yourself a break because it's gonna be over with soon. And to kick it off, I really just want to address something which genuinely irritates me because I have had this experience multiple times, which is when someone gives you the advice to just get over it or just let it go or don't think about it. Honestly, I personally think it's the worst advice because if you are a person like myself who needs to kind of internalize your thoughts and your emotions, you can't just ignore your feelings and bypass it. Pretending it's not there just makes it louder, and you can't think away a feeling that you haven't felt yet. So the first thing that genuinely really helps me, I would say, is being self-aware. I personally have taught myself to acknowledge my emotions, specifically focusing on this one of having a bleh day, which is when I realize like, okay, I'm feeling off today. I'm grumpy. I'm in a bad mood. Everything sucks. I hate my life, quote unquote. And just being okay with the fact that I'm just having a hard day. I also tell my partner when I do have an off day, I like to give him a heads up and just let him know, like, look, I'm kind of in a bad mood today. I really don't know why. I think I'm just blowing off some steam from everything that has been pent up, or perhaps the underlying subconscious frustration that I've been dealing with. And I want you to know that it has nothing to do with you, but everything to do with me. And so I just need to take some time for myself. I know what I'm saying sounds really simple, and yet it is actually something that takes practice to implement and really be conscious about. But I do want to say that it is so much more powerful to just acknowledge your feelings and really be okay with them. So if you are having a bad day, or when you do have a bad day in the future, I want you to just say it to yourself and acknowledge that you are perhaps feeling a bit crappy. And also remind yourself that it's nothing that you need to fix immediately. The feeling, of course, will pass. And also just being okay with it and letting yourself feel the emotions. I want to touch base as well on a few tips that personally work quite well for me. I'll call it my little toolbox, my moody toolbox. And they are things that actually like really work for me. It's not just something that sounds good in theory. Personally, first of all, I need to move my body. Even if I go to a workout class, sometimes that doesn't make me feel better. But what always, without failure, makes me feel good is going on a long walk by myself. And that means whether I'm going through the city, I like to be distracted by people watching, or just kind of sitting on a bench, maybe midway through my walk, and trying to be off my phone and just focusing on what's going on around me. Most of the time, I honestly really like to listen to podcasts because I kind of, divert my thoughts and focus on something that I'm learning from, or something that I feel more connected to in one way or another. Music helps as well, but sometimes I honestly get sick of listening to music all the time, so I have to change it up. And another thing sometimes I try to do is, if I'm really kind of in a rut or wanting to maybe self-analyze a bit more about what I'm feeling, is to go without headphones and just be in my thoughts, focus on the sounds around me, whether that's conversations, birds, cars, whatever it may be, and really just trying to be in the present moment. Another tip for myself is getting out of the house. Personally, the worst thing I can do for myself when I am feeling off, or even in general, I would say, on a daily basis, is being home. I feel like I am getting consumed by four walls and my brain wants to explode, which personally for me is very unhealthy. I love being home, and I want my home as well to be a place that has good vibes and not a place where I am criticizing or analyzing every single detail about, and also focusing too much on myself, honestly. Another thing I really like to do is, on the days that I do feel kind of like crap, I'd like to have solo dates. So whether I'm going to a coffee shop by myself to, write a list and focus on the things I need to do, or go to a restaurant or a cafe and have lunch with myself, that's something that is difficult, but something that is honestly really helpful. I just like to kind of mindlessly go on a walk and be by myself, where I can internalize everything in my head. And I would say that there is a big difference between being alone and being lonely. And when I am alone, I also think it's so important to remember how much I actually enjoy my own company, and that I can really just kind of get out of my rut by myself and not need to put it on anyone else. And honestly, I really want to encourage you to try to do this, whether it is going on a solo date or moving your body. I think it's so important to kind of learn how to do these things, although it is so uncomfortable, it gives you so much power in the end of it, honestly, because you're able to do these things which are really scary and socially awkward without needing to have someone hold your hand. I also am the type of person who just needs to talk to someone. I like to call my family or my friends, who I honestly tend to share what I'm feeling with. I am the type of person who cannot internalize and keep things hidden, especially my emotions. And so sharing with my friends and perhaps getting some advice, or also just letting it kind of go, really helps me as well, and also just distracts me with having a conversation and not being so in my own head. Okay, and this one I wouldn't say resistant to, but it took me a while to honestly even incorporate this, which my therapist advised me, shout out to Miriam, which is really focusing on the small details around you and showing gratitude to yourself. Whether that is acknowledging that the grass is green and telling yourself like, wow, how lucky am I to see green grass? Because there are people in the world who don't have green grass. Or when was this? This was probably maybe a few weeks ago. I woke up and kind of had like a off day, but the sun was shining and I knew that I was in my head and overanalyzing and judging everything, being a negative Nancy. And I literally went outside on our terrace and took a few deep breaths, because it's important for us to breathe as well to regulate our nervous system. And in my head, I said, how lucky am I to have a blue sky and sun that's shining right now? And honestly, unfortunately, these are things that we forget to do. Every day there is something for us to be grateful for. And I mean, the fact that you're listening to this or watching me and you're breathing without even realizing, how lucky are you? And so in these days that we are just kind of angry about everything, I personally really like, or I like and try to turn it into retrospect of focusing on all the positives, even though it's so hard, but at least one small thing that hopefully can make you kind of realize other things as well. And here's really what I have learned underneath this all. The tips that really work for you come down to you really knowing yourself. Like, I know that for me, staying home makes everything worse. I need to move my body. I need to call someone or talk to someone where I can share my feelings and get maybe my frustration out. I need to focus on some gratitude and be thankful for something that I can see or smell or hear around me that's hopefully going to help me change my thoughts. And for you to also kind of realize that it's so important for you to get to know yourself more, so that you can be self-aware enough as well to figure out what pulls you out of this funk. And if you also don't know what it is yet, that's also really okay. I think baby steps, and maybe pay attention next time to how you're feeling and the reasons behind your feelings, and actively try to perhaps incorporate some things that could make you feel better as well. And you're also building your own toolkit. I mean, what's going to work for you may not work for me, and vice versa. And that's honestly exactly how it should be. And the honest truth in regard to the days that I am feeling off and just having a bad day, it's really not, and rarely, honestly, about the way I look or the way I dressed or what I'm doing, etc., but just the baseline of feeling like shit. And I think sometimes that's can be really difficult as well, because there's nothing to directly blame per se. You genuinely just feel off and everything just kind of sucks, and there's like this heavy, dark cloud around your head that you can't really explain. And when you see someone and they ask you how you're doing, you just say, yeah, I'm good, because there's really no way to explain it. And maybe you also know that version as well. I mean, the day that you are waking up, showing up, doing your thing, being responsible, but you still just feel not that great internally. And I think it's really important to reiterate and validate that those days are also okay and that it counts too. I mean, you don't need to have a reason to have a bad day. I think that's just kind of part of life. Until next time, bye.